Wow. Let's go to the big moment in time here when Bill Goldberg loses his title to Kevin Nash. The undefeated streak ends. He had 175 days in. The record was noted at his win-loss was at 173-0.
173.
I actually, a couple weeks ago on this anniversary, I shared it on social media, this moment with the cow prod, all of that. It just seems so like it, but I'm an armchair quarterback, right? I'm not near anything like you guys, but it was just such a shame for me back then to see it end like that.
I don't know.
But,
I think I heard people, I whether it was on a documentary, I heard everybody talking about it. I heard Hall talk about it, Nash talk about it, Bill talk about it. And I think watching it at the time, the cattle prod, really, that's so I think at the time, if you can talk people into the story and make them believe it's going to work and this is why it ties up, more power to you. But, looking back at it now, and I think when I say we, me, you, the fans, the wrestlers that were involved, we're all smarter than we were then, and we look at it differently. You go, really? That's what we went with? And I think a lot of people were disappointed, and I think a lot of people are still scratching their head over that decision. But I don't know if creatively they just ran out of ideas of what do you do to a dinosaur, right? You can't shoot him. You got to do something. So what gets him? Well, let's bring in a cattle prod. And if I'm not mistaken, and don't hold me to this, did I hear him say that he actually zapped him? Like he made him.
I don't know. It certainly sounded and looked like it. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember the story. I think Scott said, he goes, well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. And he lit him up.
He sold it. I'll tell you that much. The best-selling moment he had thus far. He freaking, he went down.
Yeah.
No, I will say this, Bill. And I was watching the Royal Rumble last weekend. Full disclosure, that's who I'm recording this. And it's always fascinating to me, and I'll tie this back into that, how many storylines are going on in the same match, how many things are relevant going on in the same match.
Yeah.
And I think for me, going back to this match, it kind of had this awkward storyline with Kevin Nash as well, because he didn't know it happened. That was the thought behind it on the story. So, I mean, you did have more than one story going on there in the defense of that decision.
Yeah, and I think that could be like playing that armchair quarterback or booker. I think they probably were already booking other things and thought it would make sense to everybody else. But there's always so much. At times, there's really good underlying stories that can take part and branch off. And at times, I just think it's overthought. And everybody will get it. And if they don't get it, we'll explain it to them later. That kind of thing. And by everybody, I mean the fans and things like that. Because, listen, there was clearly things in the back that we all didn't understand. But how do we get on a streak? Let's cattle prod him. How do we beat him? How do we take the title? All these things. So, in hindsight, I bet everybody goes back and goes, we could have done this, but at the time, that's where we were.
And the thing is, the way WCW was working then, it really appeared that outside of Goldberg and Sting, but Sting was obviously already a very popular talent.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, Bill's going to do this guy a solid and put him over. Nash, Hall, Hogan, they're huge. They're putting him over.
Yeah.
Even when he's having these moments where he, that babyface climb to the top, that he can't really return that favor with anybody on the roster on that standpoint, the way it's being booked.
Right.
So I can also see where that makes it odd. You don't have some young up-and-coming guy that Bill Goldberg is going to put a rocket on like he had.
Right.
So you're really just forced to face. How could you make him lose in a way where it seems like this monster would get beat?
Yeah, and at the time, too, if we're being honest, that top tier, there wasn't a lot of room for sharing. It was a very protected top tier. You were only going to get so far. So I think they kept it within that inner circle of who was going to be on that top tier, and that was the best way to for them to all do business. So, and I firmly believe that if Bill didn't believe in what they were saying, he wouldn't have done it. So I think he went with the game plan. And again, everybody did business. I know to the fans and everybody outside, it was very wonky and didn't really make a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, and it's like Vince says, they forgot last week. They know what you're doing in front of them tonight. So I think that was the hopeful thing. And so far, that logic pretty much holds up to this day.
Yeah, and like I said, stars already established. You go over to WWF at the time, or maybe not the exact timeline. You have people like Triple H that's being developed. You have Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
You have the people that are already been there, right? Austin, but they're really all starting to boom. The Rock, all in this couple-year span. Whereas over in WCW, they were still putting over a lot of the former WWF talent.
Right.
And it was just a whole other booking scenario that didn't exactly breed a environment where you can have a bunch of up-and-coming people. So,
right.
And he actually broke through the glass ceiling in regards to that.
And the underlying thing within the companies, or I'll show you and you show me, let's not forget why Bill was the way he was. Steve Austin was told a guy in black boots and black trunks will never make $1. Well, Steve is now in WWF at the time, and now we're going to take another bald-headed guy in black trunks and black boots, and we're going to make him over. So it's that tit for tat, and okay, I'll show you, and okay, you're going to get the better of me. Okay, well, we're going to get the better of you. So, and I think that's part. I think Austin and Bill sat down on one of Austin's podcasts or something and talked about that. Like they made Bill what they said Austin couldn't be.